Hello, youth of IBC. Welcome. What has now become our third remote Sunday school class. Glad to have you here today, and hope that you're doing well. I do continue to pray for you, and hope that this is an encouragement to you. I know that I'm doing okay. Trying to stay active, trying to get out and walk, continue doing my yoga, and trying to just eat healthy. I am trying to pick up a couple of skills, and I know that after a week or so, just trying to make my time useful and profitable. So I hope that you're doing the same, and that you're getting into a little bit of a routine as we seem that this is going to be a little bit longer than maybe some of us thought. But I hope that you're doing okay. But today we're going to be once again in Philippians chapter 4, looking at verses 10 through 13. And I hope that this will be an encouragement to you as we think through this passage. As we look at here in Philippians chapter 4, verse 10, it says, I rejoice in the Lord greatly that now at length you have revived your concern for me. You were indeed concerned for me, but you had no opportunity. This basically puts it in the context of really this entire letter. We go back to the point where Paul came through, kind of helped get this church started. He has relationships. He's built some relationships. He's gone on ministering. And through his ministry and preaching the word of God in the gospel, through some circumstances, he has basically been thrown into jail for preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ. And so as he is sitting in this prison, word got back to the Philippians. The Philippians then in turn sent a gift through Epaphroditus to Paul to encourage him and to help him out in his needs. And so in this beginning passage, as he's kind of concluding this letter, he wants them to, first of all, to understand that he is really grateful. And I would say that that's something that we just need in our hearts. We just need to be grateful. And I would challenge you as we think through this to spend a little bit of time just thinking how grateful we should be, and that are we really grateful? What is Paul grateful for? He says, first of all, I rejoiced in the Lord greatly. First of all, Paul says, I want to make sure that this recognition goes to the Lord. It was the Lord who sent Paul to the Philippians. It was Paul who, the circumstances, he's been in prison. It was the Lord who laid it upon the Philippians' heart to be able to send this gift. It wasn't that Paul was sitting in prison and sending letters of, I need help, or I need this, and we'll see this a little bit further down. But it was the Philippians who, in their own hearts and their own minds, decided to send this gift. And so Paul says, I'm really thankful to the Lord how all of this came about, and how that we've built relationships, and how that we've had this connection. I really want to thank the Lord for this. So I'm grateful for how the Word works in our life. But second of all, he says, I'm thankful for the relationships that we have. It's interesting that as Paul is talking about what took place here, yes, there was like a monetary gift. There was some supplies, some things that the Philippians actually sent. But as we look through the in depth here of what he's really talking about, he's really more concerned about the relationship. When the Philippians sent this package, we'll call it a gift, this care package to Paul, they could not just put it in UPS or FedEx and kind of send it on their way. They needed to send it to a messenger. And so they used Epaphroditus. Epaphroditus was an individual who took the gift from the Philippians, took it some 700 miles to Paul, and was able to not only deliver the package, but he himself ministered to Paul. And so Paul says, I am thankful that you've had the opportunity, the recognition to be able to send somebody and some things to me. And so Paul is recognizing that he's thankful for the relationships that he has. He's also thankful for the Philippians themselves. It was the Philippian church that kind of, we don't really know how, but they found out about this need. They found out about a concern. And so Paul says, I really want you to understand that I'm thankful. So many times when we send a gift and or maybe we receive a gift, sometimes it's that little trinket or that little thing, and we look at it, and yes, it's something that we really wanted. It's something that we're excited for. But so many times when we receive a gift, it's more than just the dollar value. It's more than just the the thing that we received, it actually is connected back to the person. And so we can be grateful, yes, for gifts, but we can be more grateful for the person who is thinking about us, who took the time and the energy to really put something together. And so as we think through this time when we're isolated, when our relationships are difficult at times because we can't just walk there, we can't drive there, we can't, sometimes there's people that because of the possible health concerns, we're avoiding, or at least we're intentionally not going near them, so that we don't infect them, or the potential of infection. So during this time, I think that we need to make sure that we're really thinking deep the grateful relationships that we have. And it might just be spawned by something. You might see something, somebody gave you something a few years ago and you just happen to see it. I hope that we take the time to just recognize that relationship, recognize the fact that maybe we are missing spending time with them. Send them a little note. Send them, some way. Acknowledge the fact that you're thankful to God, but thankful to them for their relationship. I know there's been all kinds of things, people walking through with signs, hanging it up so people can see, and all kinds of things. Whatever you do, just be grateful. Take the time that you have to be grateful for the relationships. Tell people, thank you. Thank you for who you are. Thank you for your impact. Thank you for, just that relationship we have. The second thing Paul wants them to understand, and it seems like a flip here, but it's really in continuation. He says, second of all, and I forgot to go down my list here. We're in Philippians, chapter 4, be grateful. And the second one is actually to be content. To be content is really just the idea that I really don't have any needs. And so this is where Paul, he starts up in verse 11. He says, not that I am speaking of being in need, for I have learned in whatsoever situation I am to be content. And so Paul he's not saying what you sent me I'm not grateful for, because he says I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that relationship. But I want you to understand that though I am grateful for what you sent me, I'm grateful for that relationship. There's something in my life that I've learned, and that is really to not be in need of something. I can be content in the situations that I am. And so Paul, where's he at? He's in prison. That's not something that he says, oh boy, I wish I was there. I'm glad I'm here. No, this is a situation that has come upon him in his life. For Paul, maybe from 4 or 5 years before that, he probably wouldn't have thought he would have been there. We can look at the situation we're in. Probably 2 or 3 months ago, we would have never thought that we would be in the situation we're in. We're here. It's not a surprise to God, but we are here. And so how do we live in this environment? How do we live? We must learn not to be needy. So that is the idea of being content. We must learn that, as Paul says, he says in verse 12, I know how to be brought low. So there's times when we are brought low. I mean, this is something that maybe happened in our life. There are things that happened that, boy, we thought we were going to, go to a party. We thought we were going to graduate. We thought we were going to be on the team. We thought, and boy, that was just taken away from us. It brought us low. He says, I know how to abound. On the other hand, there's times where it's like, man, I thought I would be in school every day. I'm home now. So there's some positives to this, but we have a balance here. Things have been taken away, things have been given to us. How do we respond? He says, in every circumstance, he says, no matter what has come upon us, he says, I've learned the secret of facing plenty and hunger, abundance, and need. Key word there is he says, I have learned. When something first happens to us, it hits us, and it's like, wow, I miss. Well, how do we respond? Paul says, I've learned to not have a need for that. Something we wanted, something we thought was going to be there, something that we really was hoping for, it's not there. And so if we spend all of our time going, oh, I wish I had, it's gonna continue to aggravate us. It's gonna continue to bring grief. It's gonna continue to bring an upsetness within our life. Our relationships, our just life is not gonna be happy. Paul says, I can learn to accept the fact that what has changed is a change. I can be okay with that. I can be content. Now, I know all of us, we wanted that. We thought, but we need to back up and we need to say, I'm going to be content. Whether it was something we thought, whether we've got more, this is the norm. If we want to use the kind of some terminology that people are using now, this is where we're at. This is something that we have to face. This is something that we have to live through. Paul says, whatever situation, be content. Allow your life to learn to be okay with what's going on. It's going to change again. Things are going to be different. We don't know what life's going to be 5, 10 years from now. We just don't know. And so this is just a good example, a good situation for us to just learn in our life to say, it changed. I'm okay with that. But here's where Paul really wants to remind us. In verse 13, he says, I can do all things. So I'm really saying, I can do this. And we hear the slogan, we're in this together, and we're going to help each other out. And there is a lot of community effort. There is a lot of things that are going on, and we can encourage and help and little notes and all these things that we talked about. But in your life, you need to learn to say, I can do this. I'm okay. I'm going to be able to be okay. But the key to this whole phrase, I can do all things through him. The one thing that you need to learn in your life is to be dependent upon Christ. To allow his strength to really to work in your life. You might say, boy, I'm having a hard time with this. Hand it over to the Lord. God, I need your help. I need your help to help my mind and heart to be right with this. I thought I was going to be able to do this. Lord, show me, help me through this. Sometimes he'll show us why. He'll show us something different. We may never know. But our life can be content. Our life can be happy. We can have joy. We can have peace. We can have good relationships with those who are around us. We can have better relationships with those around us. We can allow God to work in our life, to make this situation one that is I'm okay with, I'm content with. I'm really grateful for the opportunity that God has given me, people around me. I'm content in my life because I can do all these things through him who strengthens me. Young people, I hope that you take the time this week to think through this passage. List a couple of things. Give me 3 things that you're grateful for. Just think in your mind. 3 things. I'm grateful for these 3 things. And then ask yourself, am I content? And the one thing that you need to do is you need to not just kind of isolate yourself in one area and say, I'm content over here, but really look at your life and even the situations that you were really hoping for. I know that some of you were seniors in graduation and all that. Can you be content through this? Some of you were going to be on basketball teams or in plays and all these things. Can you be content in those hard areas? I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm saying in Jesus Christ, you can be okay. Young people, I'm praying for you. I hope that you're being encouraged through this time and that you'll really spend the time to, yes, work in your life, build skills, but also to be thankful for those around you. Take the time to rejoice in God's goodness. I'll be praying for you this week. Hope you have a great week until we see you again. Lord bless you. Thank you.